Hi guys, welcome. Thank you guys for coming. I know sometimes it takes a lot to come out to a new group and something that's fresh and new and can be anxious. And so I'm happy that you guys were able to come out and meet with me tonight. I've gotten to know some of you over emails and phone calls, so it's nice to finally see you in person and be able to put the lovely voice to your faces. So what I want to start out with is this group, as you guys know, is a therapy group for recent cancer diagnosis and the anxiety that's associated with that. I know there's a lot of feelings that come with it, but for us, we're going to focus really on the anxiety portion of it and what that looks like in our lives and how it's been impacting the rest of our lives as well. So I want to start everything out on a positive note. And I know for me, when I'm really anxious, I sometimes just need to sit down and breathe. So we have a breathing exercise that we do, and I really benefit from it. And I think it would be something that would be good if I was able to teach it to you guys. Maybe you can use it too when you're stressed. So what you can do is put your feet flat on the ground and put your hands in your lap as you please. And close your eyes if that makes you comfortable. We're going to take a deep breath in and focus on your stomach, breathing all the way in. And then let it out slowly. We're going to do it 2 more times. Breathe all the way in. Let it out slowly. Okay, 1 more time. All the way in. And let it out slowly. Okay, you can open your eyes as you please. And get comfortable again. How did that make you guys feel?
Yeah.
I can sense my heart. I can feel my heart slowing down when I do that. So it's nice to be able to kind of ground you. So I encourage you to use that in the future if you ever are having a moment where you're feeling really overwhelmed, to really focus on the here and now and be able to kind of bring yourself back. So, well, I want to get to know you guys, and I want you guys to get to know each other. So we're going to start out with something called a dyad, and this is an opportunity for you guys to meet each other. And what you're going to do is we're going to look at each other and introduce your name, and then also tell them what's something that makes you the most anxious about your diagnosis, and then something that makes you feel the most relaxed and at ease about your diagnosis. So go ahead and let's do you two and you two.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Jessica. I guess something that makes me most anxious is the chemo treatment. I really hate that. It just reminds me constantly that I have
makes
cancer.
you the most
And that was it.
relaxed.
What brings the most relaxed is just spending time with my family.
Oh, okay.
I'm Candace.
Yeah, I'm Mark.
The
The thing that makes me more
anxious because I actually think
anxious about all this is
the worst. And
just
once you go
telling
back
my
to the room,
kids. I didn't tell them. I haven't told them, but this
help someone
moment,
around my family.
that makes me
That's
more
my
anxious
most
and more relaxed staying with them, with my family, wife and 2 kids.
Okay. So before we even start, I was noticing that when you guys were talking to each other, both of you were saying "Yeah, I agree with you," or you're getting each other. So that's something that's good to remember throughout this whole process. Is I know that we all have our own journeys, and there's different ways that we deal with our anxiety and different ways we experience it. But in the end of the day, we've been through it together. We understand what the other person is going through, and so there's a kind of a commonality between us, and hopefully that will be able to strengthen us as we continue as a group. So why don't we start with you, and you can introduce your partner and tell us the 2 things that you learned about her.
Okay. This is Jessica, and it was kind of neat because we were kind of very similar. The most anxious times for her is going to the doctor, and then I'm sorry, I'm really super nervous. So but you did say that the least anxious was with family time, like I said. Okay, all right.
Yeah. Before we move on, I'm noticing that right off the bat, you're rubbing your hands and feeling a little bit anxious. You just mentioned that. What are you feeling right now?
I don't know. I'm just really nervous. Really, there's just. I guess breathing was really nice for that few seconds right afterwards. I'm just still. I want to cry. And I'm just nervous. And
Is anybody else feeling nervous about starting a new group?
Yeah.
I thank you for sharing that, because I think it kind of brings us back to the reality that this is a new group of strangers that you've never met, and talking about something as big as cancer is nerve-wracking. So hopefully as we go on and get to know each other, you'll be able to see that we can get some support from each other, and hopefully we can help you be able to work through that so it's not such a stressful topic to talk about. So please let me know as we go if there's anything I can do to help you make sure that you are able to feel like you can share. So, no problem. Okay, go ahead, Jessica.
So this is Candace, and we had the same exact thing. She actually said not just going to the doctor, but sitting in the waiting room was really difficult for her. And then, of course, spending time with family made her feel more relaxed. So we definitely got to share that same commonality together.
It's weird. I didn't want you to feel like I was a copycat or something after you said it. I was like,
yeah,
oh
it's the same though. Yeah, and I think for everybody going to the doctor's office, whether you're sick or not, is going to be stressful. So adding that on, but I can see why that would be something that would cause you the most stress. All right, why don't you guys go ahead? You can start.
Okay, she's Olivia. The thing that makes her more stressed anxious is all the chemo treatment, and something that helps her is to spend time with the family.
Yeah. Okay. So we're noticing
Yeah,
trends.
we're on.
Okay.
And this is Martin, and one thing that makes him anxious is telling his children about his diagnosis. And another thing that relaxes him is spending time with his children.
Okay. I see. So you really enjoy spending time with your children. So I can see why feeling nervous to tell them could be a big deal. Does anybody else have children here that they've had to? So I think maybe we can glean some support and maybe some suggestions of how they went about that. Maybe that could help in your process as well. So now that we kind of know each other a little bit, I want to talk about the purpose of this group. So as you guys know, this is a therapy group, like I said, for those that are experiencing a ReSig diagnosis. And your role, or my role, as your facilitator is going to be able to facilitate an environment where we can kind of open up and talk about some common things that we've experienced and talk about emotions and feelings and daily struggles that we go through with our anxiety. I'm not here to dictate conversation or do things that make you guys feel uncomfortable. I'm here to simply facilitate a growing process for you guys. So I'm really flexible as far as how we go forward. If there's topics that you guys are interested in that you'd like to focus on, I'm totally fine with going that route. So feel free to bring things up as they come if they pop in your mind and you'd like to focus on that. Your guys' role in this group is just kind of the other end of things, like to be able to feel open and honest with each other and to be able to reach out for support and share openly. And hopefully by the end of it, we'll be able to connect as a group and also leave with a lot of tools in order to kind of tackle life as it comes. I also have some general rules that I like to kind of set in place as we go about like normal groups that I do. And so in this group, I want to start by saying that confidentiality is a big thing. And before we get too into things, I don't know if you guys are familiar with confidentiality. Okay. So just so we can reiterate it, I have a duty to warn as a social worker. So if I get any inkling that you're going to hurt yourself or someone else, like an elderly or disabled or a child, that I would definitely have to warn and report that just to make sure that everybody's safe. But everything else that you say is safe in between these four walls, and I encourage you guys to open up and share and be vulnerable because that's really going to help us as we grow. So does that sound okay to you guys? Okay. And also something else is general like respect for each other, and a facet of that is showing up on time. And I know that sounds kind of redundant. We're always told to show up on time, but it's really important in a setting like this to be able to respect each other and say that what you're doing is important and we want to facilitate that environment. So I encourage you guys to be able to do that as well. We'll be meeting every Wednesday because we've mentioned, or obviously we're all here, so this is a free time. And so you guys have already told me that that's okay. So from now on, we'll meet every Wednesday at 5 o'clock. And if the schools are closed due to snow or anything like that, then that's a good way for you guys to be able to remember if we're going to be having our group or not. Do you guys have any questions about that?
Can I add another rule?
Sure,
maybe?
yeah, go ahead.
I don't like when you are talking and someone is with a cell phone. Maybe it's stupid, this rule, but I think that is a part of the respect rule that you mentioned.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes, like you said, with respect, and it can be distracting when people are on their phones. So, are you guys okay with us kind of setting a general rule that we're not going to be on our phones? Of course, if there's an emergency, you can step out, but in general, just try to respect each other by doing that. While we're on it, we're just going to do a rounds activity and kind of talk about our expectations. But before we get to there, is there any other rules that you guys would like to add?
What about, like, I know I want to be part of this group, but I also have other things that I have to do afterwards. So are we going to be getting out in time? Or?
Yeah, very good question, and thank you for asking that. Yes, we are going to be on time every single session, and whether that means we have to cut some things out or add some things in, I'm going to make sure that our sessions stay on time and start on time and end on time, because that's my way of showing you that I respect you and your time. And I know that if you guys have kids, you probably have babysitters, and there's things going on, so we don't want it to just fluctuate. So it's going to be structured and on time every set. So usually our sessions will go for an hour. Today's a little bit shorter just because it's an introductory session, but we'll be doing about an hour every week. Okay. Well, if there's no other questions, we're going to move into a rounds exercise like I mentioned, and we're going to do a scaling question to kind of be able to get a grasp of where you guys are at with your anxiety levels. I know, like we said, coming here is really nerve-wracking. So we're going to go around, and everybody's going to tell me from a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being no anxiety at all, feeling calm, feeling okay, and 10 feeling like the most anxious you've ever felt, very nervous, top of the scale, where you feel how anxious you are right now. And then also you're going to tell me an expectation that you have for this group, just one expectation, so I can get an idea of how to tailor these groups to fit your needs. Like I said, I really want to be able to facilitate an environment where this is about you. So it's helpful for me to be able to get that right off the bat. So we'll start with you, Martin.
I am feeling around at 6, I think. One expectation that I have is like some advice when I have to say that to my kids, when I have to tell them about, I need some advice, some things like I can use in that moment to let them know that I have cancer.
Okay. So you're at a 6, which is a little bit over the middle of the spectrum, and you mentioned you're really close to your kids, so that's a very anxious thought for you to have to tell them that. So you haven't told them?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I am okay with having cancer. I have nothing to do with it. I mean, I have no other way. I mean, but yes, my kids.
But telling them is what's
telling
making
them
you
is
feel
like
anxious.
what really breaks my heart.
Okay. Yeah, and I can understand why that would be nerve-wracking for you. So I think being able to talk with each other and come up with some ideas and kind of learn some tools that might help in that process would definitely be something we can do by the end of these groups. So thank you for sharing. Lydia?
I think about an 8, and I believe some coping skills would really help me. Sort of like what we did in the beginning, the breathing exercise.
Okay.
But I think that's what I need.
Okay. So you're at an 8, which is kind of high, which is understandable. And you would like to learn some things that would, like some practical ways during the day or whatever, to be able to integrate into your life so that you can calm yourself down and really learn to live every day with your anxiety. So
that's exactly right.
Good. And I'm glad that the breathing exercise was beneficial. I use that every single day. So I definitely have some things in my back pocket that we can teach you, and I'm sure everybody else has ways that they've done it too. So thank you for sharing. Jessica?
Yeah, I'm really anxious right now, actually. I'm probably like a 9.
Okay.
I mean, it's really bad. It's just been really stressful because, like, when you set expectations, I just really want to figure out a way to talk to my brother better. Like, he always argues with me, he gets in fights, he doesn't understand my diagnosis, and it's like my feelings. He tries to tell me how to feel, and I just don't understand
Jessica,
it. And
I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to cut you off. I can tell that this is you have a lot to share.
Sorry.
And no, it's okay. And I appreciate you being able to come to the group, and we all have tons to share. And for the sake of this, I want to get zoned in on one area that you feel is your one expectation, and then we could be able to discuss the other stuff as we move forward.
I guess one thing is just to learn how to talk to my family about it,
Okay.
because I really just don't know how to do that.
Okay. So as you were mentioning, you started to tell us about when you told your brother.
Yeah.
And so it is a hard experience for you, and Martin is nervous about that too. So I think we can definitely focus on that for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Candace?
It was kind of weird because I think everybody touched on my expectations. I guess my anxiety is probably like an 8 right now. And I actually think it's come down from a 9 since walking in the door.
Oh, good.
But no, my kids don't know about the diagnosis. It was just within the past couple of weeks I actually got the final diagnosis. I haven't told the kids yet. But so I'm fearful. Like, how do I do that? How do I tell them? But also, how do I take care of me? And how do I cope so that I can teach them a healthy way of coping?
Right.
So it's all very scary, and I'm kind of, I guess I'm just kind of shocked at how much y'all are saying the same type of stuff that I've been thinking, but I haven't even been able to like put it into words yet.
And I'm really glad that you discussed that. Thank you for bringing that up because, everybody else is mentioning about other people. And I think when you're diagnosed with something like this, it's easy to want to think about how it's going to impact other people. And so the fact that you brought the self-care issue in and how to really, truly take care of yourself through this process is so important that a lot of people forget. I see you guys are all nodding your heads. I think it's something that we all struggle with. So that's definitely something that I had already planned to bring up because I think it's really important to be able to learn tools to take care of yourself because when you're taking care of yourself, it's a lot easier to help others too. So you don't want to burn out before you can, help others as well. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's really beneficial as well. Okay, so as we move forward, we are going to move on to an activity that I like to do. It's a coloring activity, kind of bringing us back to our kid days. And you guys can pass these out. Okay. And so what we're going to do is we are going to grab a marker that best describes your feelings of anxiety. And then what you're going to do with that marker is you're going to fill in the part of your body that you feel the most anxious, like either physical symptoms or theoretical, like in the air symptoms or whatever's in your head that would best describe your anxiety levels. So, we are going to start. Jessica, I noticed that you haven't really spoken up too much. I know I've been doing a lot of talking, but why don't we start with you and we can talk about what your drawing is.
Okay, so this is my drawing. I use green because it kind of represents like a sick feeling. Not to be gross, but it's kind of like grow up kind of color. And it's also just in my stomach, like I feel sick whenever I get really anxious. So that's kind of what it's like for me.
Okay. The physical symptoms, sometimes people don't realize that there are actual physical symptoms that come with anxiety. It's not just you're feeling stressed or you're feeling down or sad. So, yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. I like that. I can get a better understanding of where you're at. Olivia, where are you?
I used red and I colored right in this area and I put racing heart here and I just feel like I'm suffocating sometimes and sometimes I don't think there's anyone else any worse, can be any worse than what's going on with me. It just really affects my life and it's scary sometimes.
And before I get to that, Candace, I'm sorry, I noticed that some people are getting a little distracted. And just to go back to our rules that we said about cell phones, just to respect everybody, I'm going to have to ask if you wouldn't mind putting that away. Just so that we No problem.
It's a Farmville game my daughter sent me. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
you're fine. Thank you so much. So moving back to what you were saying, I think that that's something that people feel like when they come, that their feelings are the worst. And I don't know what you're feeling personally, but what I do know is that you told me that you were an 8. And I've had people that have come in and they've said they were 10s and 12s and 13s and 14s. So I want to tell you that it is possible to be able to lower those levels. And I have dealt with very, very, very high levels of stress and anxiety. So I'm hoping that by the end of this that you won't feel alone and that you'll feel that it's possible that you can get over this as well. So hopefully I'll be able to help you through that process. But thank you for bringing that up because I know your heart racing can definitely be a common symptom. So thank you.
I'm next. Here's me. I start sweating when I think about telling that to my kids. I start sweating, and I choose the blue colors because it's a cold sweating.
Okay.
It's not any sweating. It's cold. So and I feel very very tense, but especially it goes to my hands, feet, and forehead.
So it's not a hot sweat because
No,
of
no,
weather.
it's
It's a cold sweat because
yes.
you're nervous.
Yeah.
Okay. Has anybody else felt something similar to that? Candace?
I chose red, just because it's like a kind of a hot, angry type sensation and color. And so anyway, when I get really, really stressed out, I don't know why, but the left part of my neck and the left upper shoulder always hurts. And here lately, I've been getting like just tummy aches from my stomachs and knots and headaches, and I think it has a lot to do with the stress, and then a lot to do with just medication changes and and different things going on with treatment right now. But I also did Z's because I've been having trouble sleeping. So
I noticed when you were describing that, you said hot angry. What does that mean to you when you say that?
just it burns, it just hurts. It burns. It's painful. It's tense, stressful.
Yeah. Okay, that helps me understand a little bit more. And what's that house was that related to it?
No, that was just sketching. I was thinking about, my kids at home, and that's kind of why I'm here, but it's hard to remember to, stay here mentally the whole time that I'm here because I'm worried about them. So.
I think that's a perfect, example of how sometimes our minds can wander, and I see that you guys are also family-oriented, which is such an amazing thing, and you're here to talk about things, but you're thinking about what's happening. You're thinking about your kids, and I encourage you guys to stay here with us in the group and be able to really focus on you, because I know it's easy to think about your kids and your family and your work and your job, but this is a safe place for you guys once a week to be able to come and talk about you. So I hope that you're able to find that that's okay to be able to move on.
And I just have a question. I noticed that, you were saying you kind of understand what we're going through and our different things, the different places we feel anxiety and stuff. I mean, how do you know, have you ever gone through anything like we are? How do you even know what we're going through?
Yeah. And thank you, Jessica, for bringing that up. I know that's a common question that would pop up, and I've had it in groups before. And I want to explain to you guys that I have been through a diagnosis of cancer in my life too, about 5 years ago, and it was really tough. It was a really hard time in my life, but I was able to get through it, and I am on the recovery side of it now. As you guys know, with cancer, it can always come back. So I think for me, being able to facilitate groups like this, being able to attend a group was really helpful for me. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be a part of this, and I want to be able to help other people when they're through a stage that I had to go through as well. Also, on top of my personal experience, I've also gone to school for social work, and we have a lot of training that comes with that as far as facilitating groups, and we learn techniques and different ways of, evidence-based practices and things like that. So that would be kind of my qualifications, I guess you would say, and I hope that if there's anything else you need from me that you don't feel like I'm able to give to you at the moment or have been, that you let me know so that I can make sure I address those and fit your needs as best as I can. So
Thanks. That really helps.
yeah, no problem. just goes back to the idea that we've all been through it, but I want to make sure that this isn't about me and my journey, this is about you guys, so I guess that's maybe why I didn't really necessarily bring it up until you asked. So I know we're coming to a close. We have about 5 minutes left. Before we end, I wanted to go around and do 2 different things. The first thing is I want to check with you guys as far as topics. I know we've kind of mentioned our expectations, and that could intertwine with different topics that we might be interested in, but I just want to see if there's anything else that comes to mind that I can jot down and kind of plan for in the future, if you have anything that you would like to talk about specifically.
I just have, like I said, a really hard time talking to my family, and I just really don't know how to help them understand what I'm going through. So maybe just ways of doing that in a positive way, not so I argue, like I was saying with my brother.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure we can learn from each other as well through that process to be able to see what are ways that might be useful in order to go about that in a way that wouldn't come off as a huge surprise to your kids, but a way to empower them to be able to get through this time. So.
Yeah, me too. The way to say that to my kids.
Yeah.
That is what I really want from this group.
Yeah, and we can definitely focus on that, and I'll make sure to remember that while I'm planning our next session. So maybe next week, if that's okay with you guys, we'll talk about that, because I think that's an initial thing that would be helpful. Is there anything else that comes to mind?
I don't know if this is, it's probably just me, but my dad is a stroke survivor. He had a massive stroke, actually, when I was very young. And so, not only do I have my kids to talk to, but I also have my dad, my mom that I need to talk to. I haven't, my mom kind of knows, I've been going through testing and stuff. And they were trying to find what the source of problems were.
Okay.
So, but I hate to lump my dad into the same age category as my kids, but he does have a traumatic brain injury with the stroke, and so, I don't know if there's any way of learning tips and tools as to how to talk to him and keep him from getting depressed while I'm trying to, walk through it myself. And
yeah, definitely. And
I don't know.
Talking with adults who have a hard time understanding it, maybe compared to other adults, can be really nerve-wracking because you have a lot of information that you need to give them that you're not sure if they're really going to understand. So I think I can definitely look up some tips and some strategies that people may have used, and I can present those to you, and hopefully they might be helpful. I'll definitely talk with some of my coworkers to see if that's something that they have experienced and what might be some good tools for that as well. Because I think that's really important. Just being able to present it to other people is the first step in really starting to go through the process. So, okay. Well, now that we've gotten over that part, before we end, I want to do one quick check-in with you. At the beginning, we did our scaling to see where we were at as far as our anxiety. And Martin, you were at a 6, Olivia an 8, Jessica a 9, and Candace an 8. So our levels were pretty high. So I'd like to check back in on that same scale 0 being no anxious at all, feeling great, 10 being very anxious. Let me know where you feel now after this session. So we can start with Martin.
I think around 3.
Okay.
I'm feeling much better.
And do you have anything specific that sticks out to why it drops so well?
She has the same situation. Not the same, but a similar situation than me. Mm-hmm. So I think that here I'm going to find what I'm looking for, and I feel better.
Feeling more at ease because you're seeing that you're not the only one that's
I am.
Go through that. Okay, good. Olivia?
I think about a 4.
Okay.
And I just feel comfortable in the group and, finding some other people that have the same thing in common that I can talk to. So, sometimes we can't find anywhere to talk about it.
Yeah. Okay, so around the same area, and you're at a 4, which is cut in half, so I think that's some good progress. Jessica?
Kind of similar, like Martin was saying, we have something in common, so that gives me hope. And I think I feel comfortable with you guys already, so I'm down to a 6 now.
Okay.
And that's big for me because my anxiety is always really high, so.
I'm probably down to a 4 or 5.
Okay.
And I think it's really, really helpful to know there's other people that's going through it now and has gone through it before, but also just to be able to talk about it, I haven't really had someone to talk to that's not in a white coat, you know?
Right.
And there's something intimidating about that doctor's white coat. So I think just like being able to air the feelings,
Feeling like normal.
it
Yeah.
makes it kind of sink in a little bit more.
Definitely. And I want to, as we summarize the group and kind of talk about what we did today, I want to just specifically mention what you were saying, that this is a normal situation. This is something that, we're out of the doctor's office, we're out of our homes, we're out of the chaos. We're able to sit here and talk as adults about our struggles. And so I think that that's a really great way to connect with each other. And I hope that in the future we're able to grow closer each session. So today we talked about, we met each other, we got our initial feelings of anxiety, we were able to do some exercises and discussions, and as you can see, our anxiety levels have dropped. We talked about the purpose of the group and some ideas that we have for the future. I remember that something I forgot to say in the beginning that we need to remember in our future sessions, and you guys have been doing a great job at this, so this is probably why I forgot, was I encourage you guys to look at each other when we talk, and you guys have been exemplifying that, and I encourage that to keep coming, because there's something special about looking at someone when they're talking and feeling them out, and them feeling comfortable that they get me, they understand. So I encourage you guys to keep doing what you've been doing. So as we close today, I wanted to check and see if there's anything else you guys had anything to share, any questions before we head out for today. No? Okay. Well, I really encourage you, or I'm really encouraged and happy that you guys were able to come in, and I appreciate you guys taking that step, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thank you.
Yeah.